Check, 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 check.
Test, test. Let us rise in spirit and turn to number 20 in our sing hymnal, Waiting for You. We will sing this twice. We are waiting for you, knowing that you always abide. We are waking to your presence, and our hearts are open wide, open wide, open wide. We are waiting for you, knowing that you always abide. We are waking to your presence, and the hearts are open wide, open wide, open wide.
Good morning and welcome to UCC Longmont. My name is Whitney Jansen Pankratz. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. It is my joy to welcome you here today, along with the rest of the staff and the volunteers that make this time of intentional gathering of community possible for us each week. This week, we continue our worship series on change. Over the past few weeks, we have examined and expanded our understanding of our capacity for change. We were reminded that the Creator God made us for change, and that we are being made new always, from the inside out and from the outside in, by the ever-creative Spirit of God with us. Our spiritual growth is deeply connected to our ability to embrace change. One of the most beautiful things about our journeys of faith is that we do not walk alone. Through all seasons of life, we journey together with God and with community. And it is in that spirit that we gather to remind one another that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. So we do have children's church available today for elementary age kids who would like to participate in their worship. You can find Rob by the back pew over there. And they will be down the hall in their worship room, and adults will pick them up at 11:15 when their service is over. For all of us in worship here, know that we believe our spiritual walks are an embodied endeavor. So this means that I invite you to move around or be physically in whatever ways feel like it's caring and honoring for your sacred body today. So if you want to move closer to see better, if you want to resituate yourself to hear better, if you want to be at the back table to color and create, or at the prayer station, your wiggles and your movement are welcome in this space in whatever form that takes for you. With all of that said, let's take a moment to arrive in presence to our bodies, to this place, to this community, and to this moment. So I invite you to feel the surface that is holding you, maybe the pew that you are sitting on, the ground beneath you. Inhale and exhale. As you inhale, I invite you to vision a string connecting you down to the ground beneath the floor, roots digging in to the earth below. and exhale. Imagine branches reaching up toward the sky. Inhale and exhale. One more time on your own pace. From this grounded place, I invite you to join with me in our gathering prayer on the screen or in your bulletin. Breaking open, God, you call us to let the seeds of your love be planted anew in us again and again. Open us to letting go of how we think things are, and allow us to release as we are broken open into new life. Calm our fears and animate our spirits for this time of discovery. Amen.
Rebirth by poet Alex L. There will be a moment when you will bloom fully and then wilt, only to bloom again. If we can learn anything from flowers, it is that resilience is born even when we feel like we are dying.
Let us rise in spirit and turn to number 433 in our New Century hymnal, "In the Bulb There Is a Flower." In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter there's a spring that waits to be unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. There's a song in every silence, seeking word and melody. There's a dawn for every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come a future, what it holds a mystery, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. In our end is our beginning, in our time infinity. In our doubt there is believing, in our life eternity. In our death or resurrection, at the last a victory, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see.
From John 12:20 through 26. I'm reading from the Message this morning. Listen carefully. Unless a grain of wheat is buried in the ground, dead to the world, it is never any more than a grain of wheat. But if it is buried, it sprouts and reproduces itself many times over. In the same way, anyone who holds on to life just as it is destroys that life. But if you let it go, reckless in your love, you'll have it forever, real and eternal. If any of you want to serve me, then follow me. Then you'll be where I am, ready to serve at a moment's notice. The Holy One, parent of us all, will honor and reward anyone who serves me. Over the last few weeks, we have been talking about how we are formed and reformed in our journeys of faith. It is what has brought Play-Doh to our service for you to play with. And we will use that in prayers later. If you don't have any yet, there is Play-Doh in the back baskets if you'd like some. The pattern of change, of this forming and reforming, is not unique to humanity. Everything in nature shows us that change is the norm. We, like all of creation, are made for this change process. We change in order to keep the story of hope alive. We change to generate new life. We change to embody God's kingdom here and now. A few weeks ago, I mentioned a change cycle that was developed by Reverend Lily Brock. And though we don't all experience change in the same way, it is helpful at times to hear patterns of what others have experienced, to normalize our own lived realities. In her change cycle, Reverend Lily Brock describes an initial response to change, whether that changes by crisis, by chance, or by choice, as an experience of loss or doubt that we resist, that then transitions into a discomfort and a discovery. So today I want to zoom in on that aspect of discomfort and its tipping to discovery. She characterizes the discomfort period as one where we are integrating new awareness into our brain, still creating capacity to use it. You may remember we talked about neuroplasticity, right? That our brain is changing in that moment. It is a time where we need more rest to integrate, to do that process. Imagine a computer updating. The more you mess with it and touch it, the worse it turns out, or just doesn't update. Reverend Brock's work was initially developed for organizations going through changes. In that setting, she observed that this stage of discomfort was marked by a desire to tweak the change before it had the chance to give its intended results, or a desire to return what had been, because we know how that works and it is predictable. So the discomfort stage of change comes with anxiety. It comes with confusion and feeling unproductive because we can't touch the computer while it's updating. In workplaces, this season often comes with an increased amount of overtime from some who overfunction in order to cope with their discomfort, and also an increased amount of time off requests and sick days from others. Overwhelmingly, both approaches are unproductive. And in a society that puts value on productivity, that then exponentially amplifies everyone's discomfort. The artist Pablo Picasso is quoted in saying that every act of creation is at first an act of destruction. Our text today offers wisdom in saying, unless a grain of wheat is buried in the ground, dead to the world, it is never any more than a grain of wheat. But if it is buried, it sprouts and reproduces itself many times over. This text is metaphorically pointing us to being buried, dead to the world, sprouting. It is leading us to Reverend Brock would call discomfort, what Picasso might call an act of destruction. A seed literally breaks open in the dark, splitting what it has been to that point to sprout. As gardeners, we know that this destruction happens out of sight, in the dark womb of soil. We have to wait through the discomfort. Digging up to see if it has sprouted yet will not help. It's an act of surrender, an act of letting go. Many of us meet this dark womb of soil in the experiences of change in grief. This week, I read a blog post by Reverend Cameron Trimble where she writes, "Lately, nearly every conversation I have carries the same undertone. Beneath the updates, the strategizing, the small talk about work and weather, there is a grief. We grieve the accelerating harm to our planet. We grieve how power is being used to wound rather than to protect. We grieve the widening gulf between those who have more than they need and those who cannot catch a break. We grieve even as we keep showing up, bearing witness, tending what we can, trying to love honestly in a world that is increasingly unstable." She continues by reminding us that this grief is not a sign that something is wrong with us. It is a sign that we're paying attention. Grief is not a problem to be solved. It's a relational process to be metabolized, to be integrated into the body of our awareness and action without letting it paralyze us or take us hostage. When grief is unacknowledged, it hardens into cynicism. It spills into rage and it deadens into despair. Yet, when it is honored and worked with, it becomes a source of clarity and connection, a powerful vehicle for change. There is a way of moving with grief that doesn't demand resolution or bypass, but it does invite transformation. All of this sounds a bit like Play-Doh and a bit like the neuroplasticity of our brains. They harden if they're not worked, if they're left. So friends, we are called to be a resurrection people. We are called to be people that invite transformation. So what does that look like? To consent to discomfort, to consent to our grief, to being buried as a seed, to invite transformation. Let me give you an example of this wrestling. We have a contemplative prayer group that meets in the fireside room, just around the corner, at 8 a.m. on Tuesday mornings to do a silent prayer practice each week called Centering Prayer. If you ever want to come, it's completely open to folks who've never done it before or folks that have done it. A couple weeks ago, I was on my way to this practice. I listened to news on my drive to the church from Greeley. The night before, I had been poring over firsthand stories from community organizers, clergy, and professors in Minneapolis that I had studied alongside through seminary. As I arrived at church that morning, my grief and feelings of helplessness to help them had me spinning. In a desire to track their resistance actions, I was keeping track of everything I saw. I wanted to analyze the interconnection of their actions and the pressures that they were applying. I wanted to predict outcomes. I felt a continual compulsion to turn to the news to look for some sort of resolution or comfort, knowing that it wouldn't be there. That instead when I turned on the news, I would find a narrative potentially geared to keeping me coming back, to keeping me alert and keyed up, maybe even meant to keep me angry or afraid. Now, though some days are easier than others, over years of practice, I've generally worn a fairly well-traveled path to my internal resting space with God. That morning, though, in my contemplative practice, I couldn't get there. I could not be present in my body, to the chair in that room, to the people next to me. I was very distracted. It is ironic that the more that we need the grounding love of God, the time to integrate and install and update, the harder it is to let go of anxiety and rest in that space. Now, as we come to our time of silence together on Tuesday mornings, we have a practice of speaking into the silence, anything that God has put on our hearts to be held communally among us all. I don't know the exact words, but I know they were a lamenting cocktail of grief and anxiety and helplessness that I threw out there. Led by a spirit moving through another in our group. We ended up reading the parable of the sower. We've talked about communally weaving away thorns of distraction to find fertile soil somewhere to be buried. Together, we were seeking a dark womb of transformation. Friends, there comes a point when we are powerless to change things alone, even with all the best strategies and coordination. There comes a point when we're unable to metabolize grief, whether it is grief for all of society or grief that is just in my own life. We are unable to metabolize these things alone. We are wired for interconnection and belonging. We are called to move in solidarity for change with those for suffering, and we are not meant to do any of it alone. When we lose sight of those grounded places where we meet God in our souls, we are together to find our way back. The community helps us. So the good things is, in not being alone, it's not just community that holds that. That God is always with you, calling you beloved, always extending an invitation of love and care. God is ready to walk with us into the dark of being planted. And I believe deeply also that our God is not coercive, that God will wait for our consent to be planted. Even though sometimes there's change that we didn't choose, that feels forced. Your yes to God's movement in you is a powerful gift of agency. When we are open to it, God is willing to walk with us into the hard stuff that cannot be rushed, cannot be solved, cannot be bypassed. In the hardest changes that we may face in our life, in our deepest griefs, God does not solve our suffering, but assures us that the darkness of being planted is not abandonment. Rather, it's a womb of intimacy and care, a place for a seed to break open, a becoming. As followers of the way of Christ, we have a distinct choice in letting go. Our text today says, "But if you let go, reckless in your love, you'll have it forever, real and eternal. Any of you who wants to serve me, then follow me." Then you'll be where I am, ready to serve at a moment's notice. It is a powerful choice of devotion to trust God that we are made for this discomfort, knowing that it will yield a transformation, to allow God to do what God alone can do, and to know that you are held in this perennial miracle of faith that holds all creation, not just all humanity, but the world outside our doors. The contemplative teacher Thomas Keating wrote in his book, An Invitation to Love, about our spiritual journeys having multiple points of consenting to invitations to God. I view these three places as places where we might choose to walk into the darkness of being planted. The first consent they talk about in our development is to the basic goodness as ones that are created and loved by God. So accepting that, yes, God, I agree that you love me and that I am created to be loved by you. The second is an acknowledgement of our finitude as we let go of what we love in the world, trusting that there will be enough. The third is a consent to a final surrender of our false self and to die in our false self and let our true self to emerge. Now, there's a threshold being marked here in each of these consents to God's love, in our grief and our change. After the loss and grief and of discomfort, there's an edge that is noticed, a tipping point to discovery and transformation. It's amazing to wonder, how do we go from this deep discomfort to suddenly being in transformation? In her change cycle, Reverend Lily Brock talks about this tipping edge of the discomfort phase as one that will potentially unfold into what she calls a danger zone. But it's just a recycling back through the loss and the doubt on one hand. On the other hand, it can be a threshold of letting go, a consent to this stage of discovery, and it's not uncommon or wrong to go back and recycle through the grief. I want you to hear that if you ever are in a stage of grief and you feel like you were on the edge of maybe letting it go and you didn't, and you recycled back through, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that is the way our bodies are designed to be loving and compassionate to us, giving us a chance again to process, to be ready for the invitation again when it comes back. It's your body's wisdom, protecting you from moving forward until you have the supports and cares you need. So there are ways that we can create that care in our change. There's ways that we can look for those supports and build them around us. Here are some practices of wisdom I want to bring you from Reverend Cameron Trimble. The first thing is grief is sacred data. That grief is not weakness or oversensitivity, that it is an honest signal that our entanglement with the world is real, that we know we are interconnected in a sacred way. It's a form of knowledge. It tells us about that connection and that there's something precious that was harmed or lost. Before we rush to numb or convert our grief into immediate action or healing, we need to let it speak. The second is a shift from urgency to rhythmic presence. When something is wrong, urgency is seductive, especially in moments of crisis. But it is also a product of the same system that is bringing it out in us. So when we think about the anxiety that I was feeling coming to our prayer practice, that sense of urgency was just compounding and building and was a result of the society that was creating it in the first place. Spiritual wisdom moves through people who who know how to return to their breathing, to their bodies, to create small, resilient spaces where a different way of being is being practiced. This is not withdrawal, it's an act of repair. It rebuilds the nutrients of trust in the fibers of our community and in our relationships with one another. The third thing is to practice compost-mindedness. So this is coming from an earth-aligned perspective, that decay is not our end, it is a transformation. Anything and everything will eventually compost. Our task is not to halt the process by force, but to participate consciously in what is being born from it. So knowing something new is going to come out of something that feels destructive and messy and chaotic, we can look for where the change is happening and where we want to put our energy. Asking questions like, what relationships need tending? What small, truthful practice needs protecting? When grief moves this way, it stops feeling like a dead weight, and it begins to act like a mycelial network under our forest floors, largely unseen but deeply connective and generative. Our fourth movement is to refuse the false binary between hope and despair. Hope, when it floats above the present moment, can bypass pain and accountability. Despair, when it collapses inward, can convince us that nothing matters. Neither of these are good. We don't want to do either. But instead, there is an orientation available, a fidelity to the pulse of becoming. What is life right here, right now, asking of you? Sometimes the answer is action. Sometimes the answer is rest. Sometimes it's witness. Sometimes it's restraint. But this is what metabolizing looks like, not being driven by emotion, but letting emotion move through us until it clarifies our next step. And finally, as we said earlier, we don't hold grief alone. Shared grief is grief that can breathe. So we find and we create our circles where truth can be seen, where we can say what we feel, where we can name outrage and frustration and faithfully ground underneath it a practice of love. So Lent starts in 10 days. The promise of Lent is that something will be born out of the ruin, that in our lives, the natural world around us, we see this constant change, and that we believe that we are part of that practice. Change that brings us to discomfort, that leads us into the dark, invites us to be planted. In the thick of it, buried in the dark, may we always know that we are never alone. As Reverend Amelia reminds us at the end of services, the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. And the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is. My hope for us is that when we know the time is right, that invitation that God continually offers us to transformation, that we might find the courage to consent, to say yes, to be planted, knowing that it is from that discomfort, the hard husk suffocating our hearts can break open, and that we would reach toward life, leaves unfurling in expansive love. Amen. All right, friends, we have come to our contemplative time in our service, where if you would like to use your Play-Doh, you are welcome to. You are also open to do visualization in your mind of the prompts that I give you. So as we enter this time, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out, inviting God into your creative reflection. So the first prompt I have for you is to make seeds, whatever they might look like for you. And I want you to think about the things in your life where God could transform something that feels just not there right now, where you would invite change. Maybe these seeds are things that you see coming, where change that you're not super excited about will come to greet you. Maybe there's a loved one who is on hospice, and that you know your time with them is limited. Maybe there's changes in a child preparing to leave home. And though that's exciting, it's also scary. Maybe there are things changing in how you spend your days in your workplace or with others that you care about. So whatever seeds you have found, I invite you to hold them in your hand. And as you feel comfortable, I invite you to hand them to God, letting your hand close around them, imagining that they are now buried in the soil. God, we offer our seeds to you. We know that change is a constant in our lives, that you are one who holds us in our becoming, that you walk with us into the womb of being planted, and that you honor the courage that it takes for us to trust you, to let go, and that you keep that invitation continually open for when we are ready, always, always loving us in whatever phase we are in. Amen. And continuing in our spirit of prayer, I invite you to join me with a responsive prayer of Jesus that is in your bulletin or on the slides. I will read one, and you all will read many. Our Father, Our Mother, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen. And as tradition shows us as we move in community, we are journeying together. I invite you to say a quick word of peace to your neighbors, passing the peace.
Good morning. A very good morning to all of you. I'm Tammy Ostick, a member of the Church Council with pronouns she, her, hers. I'm happy to see you all today. A very special welcome this morning to visitors and guests, and a warm welcome back to those who haven't been here for a while. We're so glad you're here. Join us on Thursday, February 12th, from 9:30 to 11 a.m. as we gather to fill Born to Read bags. It's a simple hands-on way to support early literacy in our community, and all helping hands are welcome. Please join us as we share a plant-based meal and conversation after worship on Sunday, February 22nd at 11:30 in the fireside room. If you are able, please bring soup, salad, bread, or dessert to share with others. But if you are not a cook, please join us anyway. Members of the EJ committee look forward to seeing you. This is a time to try out a new recipe or an old comfort food. All are welcome. Intergenerational Community Kindness Action. Meet us on Sunday, February 15th at 11:45 a.m. in the sanctuary following happy hour for a brief conversation about kindness as a practice of social transformation and to participate in a communal prayer of loving kindness. We will then move to Lohmiller Park to chalk messages of encouragement on the sidewalks and enjoy time of fellowship and play as a community. So come all you artists and non-artists. We're partnering with several organizations to host a Know Your Rights training on February 16th at 6 p.m. The Know Your Rights portion will be taught by D.A. Michael Daughtery, followed by a presentation from Longmont Public Safety and Police Chiefs about recognizing local law enforcement. Attorneys will be available after the presentation for people to ask questions one-on-one. Childcare is provided, and the event will be in English and Spanish. These trainings are valuable for everyone, so we hope you'll make this time to attend. There's a lot happening here at UCC Longmont. Please be sure to see your bulletin and happenings for additional announcements. If you would like to support UCC Longmont financially, you can give online at ucclongmont.org/giving, or the offering boxes in the back of the sanctuary. These gifts help us to live out our mission in the world. We are grateful for all generosity. Thanks.
Let us rise in spirit and turn to number 81 in our New Century hymnal, God Be With You. We will be singing verses 1 through 3. God be with you till we meet again. My good counsel guide uphold you. With a shepherd's care enfold you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet.
And now, in the spirit of Reverend Amelia and all of those that are with us in spirit at the Women's Retreat, the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. May you know that wherever you are, God is. Go now in peace.